In this class, I want us to look at the rules of Surds. Rules of Surds. What are the rules of Surds? You already know that if I say the square root of 9 multiplied by the square root of 16, you can do two things. One of the things you can do is you find the value of the square root of 9, which is 3. You also find the value of the square root of 16, which is 4. Then you multiply this together, you agree with me, you're going to have 12. This is one way of solving this type of what? Problem. What if I approach it like this? Instead of coming like this, I first of all multiply the two together. If I multiply 9 by 16, you agree with me, I'm going to have what? 144. So therefore, I will also go ahead and say, instead of approaching it like this, let me take this one out. I come that this one is equals to the square root of 9 multiplied by 16. Okay? Look at it now. This is alone, this is alone. Now, I am bringing them together. It is allowed. I'm going to have the square root of 144, which will give me the square root of 144 is still going to be what? 12. The same thing. Remember, when I solve them separately, I arrive at this answer. When I join them together, I still arrive at the same result. Is that not telling you something? It's already telling me something. I don't know about you. It's already telling me something. What is it telling us? This is telling us that if you have something like this, that is the square root of A multiplied by the square root of B, you can easily say it's equal to the square root of A multiplied by B. So this is what the first rule of what? Surds. That when there is multiplication that separate two square roots, you can actually multiply them together. Okay? Good. Now, let's go for the second one. What if in a situation whereby you have the square root of 144 divided by the square root of 9? Okay? 144 divided by the square root of 9. We are going for the second rule now. You can do them separately. Okay? It is allowed. What is this rule all about? What is possible and what is not possible? That is the rules. Even in your country, you have what you can do and what you cannot do. So we have guidelines and rules for all the citizens. So when you are in this country called Surds, there are some things you can also do and you cannot do. So what you can do, that's what we are looking at now. We are also going to look at what you cannot do. Okay? Therefore, this is equals to, the square root of this is 12 all over 3, which is equals to 4. Also, instead of doing it like this, you also have the privilege, you are also allowed to do what? To say this is equals to the square root of 144 all over 9. See? Those two things that were separated, they were all separated, they were all alone. I am now bringing them together. It is allowed. What is allowed and what is not allowed. Now, before we even move further, I can divide these guys within this square root. That is 144 divided by 9. You agree with me? If you divide this, you're going to have what? 16. That is square root of what? 16, which is also equals to 4. The same result. So what is this second rule saying now? The second rule is saying, if you have a situation like this, whereby you say the square root of A divided by the square root of B, you can also say what? The square root of what? A over B. This is the second what? The second rule. These two things are possible. When there is multiplication sign separating them, you can bring them together. Where there is division separating them, you can bring them together. But now, what is not possible? Assume you have something like this. The square root of 16 minus the square root of 9. This is not equal to the square root of 16 minus 9. No, they are not equal. What you can do, you do this separately, you do this separately. You cannot bring them together. Remember, for the multiplication and division, you can bring them together. But this guy, they can never come together. The same thing goes for the square root of 16, for instance, plus the square root of 9. You cannot also join them together. They are not equals to the square root of what? 16 plus 9. They are not equal. So therefore, those two things that are not possible are therefore, if you have a situation of A minus B like this, is not equal to the square root of A minus B. Also, the square root of A plus B is not equal to the square root of what? A plus B. These are what? The rules of Surds. Now let's use this to solve some questions. You are asked to find the square root of 162. Remember, this is equal to 81 multiplied by 2. 81 multiplied by 2, which you can still separate, because we have seen that when there is multiplication, we are allowed to separate with multiplication sign like this. Because this is not minus, this is not what plus. We can do like this. What is the square root of 81? It is 9 multiplied by the square root of 2. How do you bring them together? When there is something like this, you can also write them simply like this. Just the way you write AB. In mathematics, we know it means what? A dot B or A multiplied by B. Or you say 2B. We know it means what? 2 multiplied by B. The same thing goes up. When we have 9 and something like this, we know what? In between them, we have what? A multiplication sign. We are asked to find the square root of 54. What is the square root of 54? 9 times 6. This is equal to the square root of 9 multiplied by 6, which is equal to the square root of 9 multiplied by the square root of 6, which is equal to 3 multiplied by the square root of 6, which is equal to 3 square root of 6. We have already applied the rules of Surds. What about this? This is what? 49 times 2. 49 times 2. This is equal to the square root of 49 multiplied by 2. And we know that we can separate them. We can separate them to say 49 multiplied by the square root of these 2. What is this? 7 multiplied by square root of 2, which is 7 the square root of 2. Okay? This is sweet, right? If you are given something like this form is called what? The basic form. Basic. Why, if you have something like this, for instance, this is what? Surds form. So you are given something like this, that you move it from this basic form to the Surds form. What do? You simply do 3 multiplied by the square root of 2. What is that thing? If you find a square root, you're going to have 3. That is the square root of 9 multiplied by the square root of 2, which is 9 multiplied by 2, because you can bring them together, because this is not plus, this is not what? Minus. As long as it's division or multiplication, you can actually bring them together. This will give us what? The square root of what? 18. Okay? The square root of what? 18. What about this? 2 and 3, from this basic form, you are asked to move it to what? To the Surds form. Simple. That is, this now means 2 multiplied by the square root of 3. This means the square root of 4 multiplied by the square root of 3. Because square root of 4 will give us 2. You say 4 multiplied by 3, which is equal to the square root of 4, 12. Okay? You are given 3 and 5. This basic form moves to the Surds form. That is equals to the square root of 9 multiplied by the square root of 5, which is square root 9 multiplied by 5, which is the square root of 45. So this is the Surds form. This is what? The basic form. Now, let's look at similar Surds. All these you are seeing here now are all similar Surds. We call this similar Surds because if you simplify this square root of 8, you're going to arrive at this. So these two are what? Similar. The same thing with this. Square root of 18. If you work on this now, you're going to have this. So we say, well, these two are what? Similar. The same thing with this. If you work on this now, you're going to have the square root of 16 multiplied by 2. And you have, if you solve for the square root of 16, you're going to have 4 square root 2. So these two are called what? Similar surds. Okay? The same thing with this 72 will give you this similar surd. So note from today that if you have something like this, you can also express it like this. Or you have something like this, you can express it like this. We therefore say they are what? Similar surd. We are asked to simplify this. Simplify this. Okay, no problem. Let's look at this first. I'm going to use this one now. It simply means the square root of 4 multiplied by 5. You agree with me? This is what? 2, 5. Agree? 2, 5. 2, 5. So this one is 2, 5 plus, this is what? 9 multiplied by 5, which is 3, the square root of 5. One 25 is 25 multiplied by 5, which is 5 square root 5. 5 square root 5. We therefore say this is what? 5 square root 5 minus, what about this? 280. This is equals to 2. What is this? 80 is what? 16 multiplied by 5. Work on it. This multiplied by this is what? 0. Have 3. This is 5. That is what? 80. Okay? Okay? Therefore, this means 2 multiplied by the square root of 16 multiplied by the square root of 5, which is 2 multiplied by 4 multiplied by the square root of 5. This will give us what? 8 square root what? 5. 8, 5. Okay? Okay? 8, 5. Okay, now, all of them are 5, 5, 5. It's something like you have 2a plus 3a is what? 5a. 3a minus 1a is what? 2a. The same thing goes that. Now, look at this as a. Because they are similar. These are all similar. All these. That is, this 5, this, and these are all similar. Okay? So because of that, we can easily do something by saying 2 plus 3 will give us 5. Plus this will give us what? 10. That is 10 square root of 5 minus this, which is this. This is equals to, this minus this is 2, the square root of 5. Okay? With this, I believe you understand surd now. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. We're going to do more surd in the next video, please. And if you have any question, do not hesitate to ask, because I'm going to answer you very fast as soon as what I see your question. Thank you.